Good morning, good morning. This is Jacqueline Richardson, Miss JJ Diamond, Jackie Deja, whatever y'all call me. Oh, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Sunday. Yeah. I'm disappointed. I keep seeing all of these kids fighting their teachers. I know I feel some kind of way about it. The disrespect. It's unreal. I blame it on the parents, it's what they allow. A kid is going to always try you. They're going to try the adult. They're going to try their parents. They're going to try the teachers. They're going to try whoever they can possibly try. But as parents, we have to stand our ground and go off, sometimes. I told y'all years ago, about 5 years ago, start working out, get your punch together, your kick together. I know the government has set forth and told everyone, oh, you can't hit your kid. But one little red flag said we can, as long as we do it with our hands. And to protect ourselves. Okay? So, don't use a weapon. Don't use a belt. Use your hands. This is why you need to work out. And I'm going to constantly tell y'all this, okay? Now, I know that a lot of parents may be scared of their children. And this is one of the reasons why they don't grab them up and let them know. Okay? However, the moment that you step down into that courthouse because your child has done something negative to not only a teacher or another child, you're going to be held liable. So you need to do the work now. And I'm talking to the parents, okay? And teachers are there to babysit your kid for 8 hours, okay? Teach your kid for 8 hours and shouldn't have to take the abuse for 8 hours. So with that being said, I want to start a group, okay, for these parents that want to come in the building talking mess to the teachers because they had to go off on their child, or their child put their hands on them running up in their face in their space. Okay, now, up in Maryland, okay, I always use Maryland because Maryland had their laws intact, okay, and it's something that North Carolina needs to do. In Maryland, if you stand in a person's space, meaning 6 feet, if you're in their personal space by law, you have the right to protect yourself by law. Okay, is that law in place here in North Carolina? I'm not sure as of yet. I will find out. But if it's not, it should be. Because once that child steps in your face, you should be able to protect yourself by law. When I go to the council meeting this Tuesday coming up, and I'm getting prepared to what I need to bring to the table to protect our teachers here. Okay? The school bus incident, the teachers getting students up in their face, fighting them, even when they're trying to break them up from fighting, they're fighting them, cursing them out. No. It has to stop. And I mean, it has to stop. Now, if the government don't help us through this, I'm personally going to start a group of females and males that's willing to help protect the children. The teachers. Okay, because we get a lot of these parents that want to run up in the school after the teacher undisciplined their child when the teacher has the child for 8 hours. Okay? And then you want to come up in here and telling me what your child should have done or didn't do or whatever the case may be. Okay? And fighting and all of this other nonsense. It has to stop. So if the Congress does not if the when I bring it up to the Congress meeting, at the council meeting, and they don't take it to Cooper and get some things done and get some of these kids that have mental issues help, we're going to have to start a group to protect these teachers, okay? Not only protect them via government, but protect them from some of these illiterate parents that's out here, okay, that want to run up because they it's their child. Okay, we will pull up. Okay, if the teachers are calling saying, oh, that this parent is acting crazy because their child was jumping in my face and they got some people from the street, we will pull up. We're not afraid to pull up. And see, that's what they're forgetting. Because some of these teachers are not going to tolerate it. And they're going to need a group of people that's going to stand behind them. And once again, I state, you got some of these ignorant, illiterate parents that want to run up, oh, you did this to my child, blah, 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 blah. They ain't listening to nothing but what their child say. But they not there 8 hours with their child, watching their child act a fool. And then you got some of these kids start crap, and then other kids get in trouble because they unstarted it. And then their parents want to come in yelling and screaming and hollering and don't even know what's going on. We will pull up. So I will talk to the council next Tuesday, and I'm going to this is going to be the first thing I speak about. There's other issues that we got going on here in North Carolina, but that's going to be one of the issues because it's mandatory that every child goes to school. And kids shouldn't be disrespecting adults. It's a way to do things, even if the adult is wrong. That's why it was put in place with the government. If you're being abused, there's a difference of being abused and disciplined. I was an abused child, so I know the difference. Some of you don't know the difference, so y'all allow these kids to run crazy with it. Oh, I'll call the police. I'll call this. Call who you want to call. We have to end it. Now, I don't know if the whites want to join us because some of their kids is bad too and be acting out. But I know in these black communities, especially the communities I'm in, it's not going to happen. Children will respect their elders. Like I said, the elders may not always be correct because a lot of elders are not leaders. However, those that are leaders, they will respect them. We're going to get back to that. This cycle that they got going on is going to end. Because our children are out of hand, and it makes us, every black woman, every black man that walks these communities, look bad. It makes us look terrible. And we have to end this cycle. We've been working out. A lot of us have been working out. We've been working out, getting our stamina up, just in case a young teen think they want to run up. You always respect your elders, whether they're right or wrong. If they're telling you something that you're confused about, you go to another elder and find out. You don't jump up in an elder's face and disrespect them. You just don't do it. And I'm sick of it. I would have never, as much as I used to fight in the streets of the Bronx, if an elder stood in my face, I would never. I would never curse that elder. I would never yell at that elder. I would never. If an elder called my name and I was in the midst of something, the moment that elder called my name, I was at attention. It has to stop. We used to be in the Bronx, and we could be, I'm not going to say starting trouble, but, edging on a fight or whatever, because kids do it. Say, Miss Smith came up the street going to the store, and she seen it all. All it took was for her to call one of our names. Jackie, what's going on? Everybody went to a halt. We scatter. Just like they were the police. If we saw Miss Williams, what y'all doing? Oh, we ain't doing nothing. This is the way it's supposed to be done. Your elders are like the police because we coming in to regulate what is going on. That's the way it's done in communities. We protect our own and we teach our own. And this chaos has to end. It has to end. This cycle has to end. Once we constantly continue to allow children to disrespect us, they will continue to disrespect us. I'm watching the video. The girl is all in the teacher's face, pushing the teacher. So the teacher grabs her hand, okay, which is a tactic because I had to go to a class because I was a foster care mom for my grandson, which was kinship. However, I got him out of care and just took custody of him because he was my blood. However, I had to go through all of these different classes on how to deal with kids that's disabled, kids that want to act out. Technically, she was supposed to grab her wrists, okay, and pull them down, okay? But she couldn't get to them, so what she did was put her hands in her hands and held them. And the girl constantly kept saying, "Get off of me," but yet and still the girl hit her. She hit her, so she didn't have a reason to say, "Get off me." You already put your hands on this woman. Technically, she could have took her head off. But she tried to use some precaution to try to get this girl to stop, pushing on her. Who do you think you are as a child to be pushing on an adult? You don't know where that adult came from. That adult could be a army vet. That adult could have been fighting in the streets of the Bronx like where I come from. Could have been fighting in the streets of Baltimore. Okay, you don't know where these people come from, and you running up on them, talk about whatever you gonna do, and then you're bigger than a minute. Toss. I'm gonna throw you somewhere, and then if you get up and come back, I'm gonna hit you one time. That's why I couldn't be a teacher, even though I love children and I teach them every single day. But to be a teacher in the schools, I couldn't. Because the moment that a young one think that they're going to pull that school nonsense, that, since I'm in school, I can run up on her, I'm going to lose my job. I already know this. This is why I work the communities. Because there's nobody marking my policies. That's the difference. I deal with the youth every day, but my youth respect me. I listen to them. I talk to them. They don't be out here fighting and none of that. If a person ain't right, they get rid of them and don't deal with them. I teach his minds how to act. But now they're getting older and we bringing up this other next generation. When my older kids are out here, they raising their kids, and they're teaching their kids not to be fighting, hitting, and doing all kind of stuff, I stand back. I don't say nothing. I don't say, oh, don't be hitting that baby. I mean, maybe a 4-year-old, they pop their little hands. Do what you got to do, because if you allow it now, when that child gets 10, it's going to be worse. So I sit back and wait patiently. Like, well, now you learn, right? You're going to stop disrespecting mommy. Mm-hmm. That's what I say. I give them the okay. Discipline that child. Because they know what I went through with my grandson. And I would have to come out there and discipline him. And they don't want to be like that. They're watching and they're learning. I had to square up with my grandson. Like we was in a boxing match. They don't want their kids to be like that. And I don't think you want yours to be like that either. So it must stop. See, because I'm one of those mothers that will square up. Not every mother has that oomph. But I am. Because I had no other choice. Because I took on the responsibility of taking care of that child. So the moment that you think that you're going to disrespect me, or when I'm telling you and you outside fighting and I call your name and you pretty much saying F me, no, now it's time for me and you to square up. And see, my community watched that every day. We had to come outside and ready to square up with this dude because he don't want to listen when I say stop. So it's not nothing that my community hasn't seen. But this cycle has to stop. It has to stop. We have to get back into the respect of adults. And that's just what it is. This new generation coming up, they are not going to be like that. Disrespecting their elders. We're going to handle them now. Because that same kid that you allow to disrespect you, let me tell y'all a story. I'll never forget this day. My little daughter, she was acting up, right? And her father kept telling me stop yelling at her and stop going off on her. Because she had said something real crazy to me. Okay? And I was about to tear her up. And he was going off on me. Cursed me out. I was all kind of bees and everything. So one of my friends, she came up and was like, well, why are y'all arguing like this? And I'm like, well, for one, he wouldn't let me whip my daughter's ass. And but that's my daughter too, and I say you don't put your hands on her. I said, okay. So I stopped, right? I said, I'm not going to hit her no more. I'm not going to spank her butt. Because I was going to spank her tail. Because she was like real raunchy with her mouth. A couple of years later, she got real raunchy with him. And he was ready to tear her up. And I said, no. I jumped in the middle. I said, no. Don't hit my daughter. Don't hit my daughter. The same thing he did with me. Okay? So, he said, let me hit. I'm going to tail up. I said, no, no. So, he didn't like me no more. Well, how you think I felt about you when you wouldn't let me discipline my child? When my child goes out here, she's a replica of me. So, when she goes out here and be disrespectful to adults, I have to deal with that. But you wouldn't let me discipline her. Okay? So then, wait a minute. He takes her out of town with his family. And she disrespected all of them. I was in the background pretty much laughing. Okay, I was laughing. And, they was calling me back and forth. Oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. And I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, well, let me come get my child. Or send my child home. And the thing about it was that the issue was very minute. Very minute. So I'm trying to be a third party in a situation, but I'm still laughing. Because y'all was talking all that crap about, don't discipline her. But now she disrespecting y'all. Ha, ha, ha. But it's not going to happen to me. And the moment that I feel that it's uncontrollable, I'm going to stop it. And I dare anybody to say anything to me. Because I pushed that child out. And she's out here making me look bad as a parent. When she pull up to an adult talking mess. No. That's a no-no. If the adults that you was around, you don't like their decision making, you don't go around them. But you're not going to disrespect them. Okay? Just because and I'm going to say it again. Just because an elder says something, it may not be correct. It may not be right. But you let them state their piece and you keep it moving. But you don't have to deal with that elder either. And that's how you handle that. Don't be disrespectful. And let it go. It took a long time for my grandson to do that. It took a couple of punches in the mouth, a couple of haymakers, being tossed to the floor. Took a lot of that. For me and him to even get on the phone and he's saying something to me and I'm like, look, this is the situation. I don't want to hear it. Blah, 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 blah. Have a good day. All right, Ma. But it took a lot for me to get him to that point. And my whole community is my witness. It has to stop. The disrespect towards elders must stop. And I know y'all see sometime a lot of these elders out here doing negative stuff and they trying to talk to you about it or whatever the case may be. And you saying, how can you possibly talk to me? Look at your life. But some elders has experienced some things. But you lead by example. That's the way it works. You lead by example. My kids will come to me sometime. When I say my kids, I mean my kids in the community. They'll come to me sometime and they be like, Ma, or, Miss Jackie, I was thinking about doing this. What do you think? And I'll give my input. Because they might have went to another elder and that elder might have told them, no, that's not good. Or, yeah, that's good. But they want to find out different somebody else's opinion on it. That's what the elders are here for. To help the kids get through. When they need someone to talk to. When they need someone, when they need help. That's what we're here for. To oversee them growing into adult women and men. That's what we're here for. But they ain't supposed to be disrespecting us. And this is why the generation is having a hard time surviving, because they wasn't able to talk to the elders to find out what they could have missed in life, because people don't want to deal with them because they're so disrespectful. So nobody wants to teach them. I met a Spanish lady on the other side, Milton area, yesterday, matter of fact. And she was sitting there with two young girls, and she said, these are my babies. And she was like, not my babies, but I said the community babies. I know. I'm glad that you are just like me. And they were sitting there talking with her. And I guess she was giving them advice or whatever they was doing, But the point that I'm trying to make is, in every community, we have a community mother, okay? And we're going to make more community mothers. Okay, like in this community, when I first got here, I think we had a total of about 5 community mothers when I first got here. 5 or 6 community mothers. A lot of them disappeared. I'm still around, so, the kids are able to come and ask me, for information, or if I know, I even ask them for information, because certain things that I haven't encountered, and I'll go outside in a minute and be like, hey, come here. Let me ask you about this, because I'm trying to figure this out, and I need some help, and they tell me too. They help me out. They tell me, well, if you do this, and make sure you do it this way, yeah, it'll help. And I'd be like, thank you so much. And then when they come to me, when they maybe have issues, and I'll give them some advice on how to handle, certain situations. Because certain things that you haven't been through, you don't know how to deal with it. And I'm new to this state, so certain things I haven't encountered. When I say new, I'm not new. I've been here 7 years, so I'm technically a resident. A Carolinian. It's 5 years in a state, you become technically a part of that state. So I've been here 7, so I'm a Carolinian now. Now it's time for me to raise the roof, because I've been here and went through some things. That's why it's time for me to get to the council meetings. But we ain't gonna have these disrespectful kids in our state doing all this negativity. They got to put some laws in place. And just like I said with the bus driver, if the kid didn't like the way the bus driver was driving, there's a way to report that bus driver. You don't put your hands on nobody. Because if that was me, and I'm a bus driver, past bus driver, I would have parked that bus and drugged that child off that bus and tore it up. That's why I said I can't. I know I want to, it's a job that I can do. I do possess a CDL. Okay? And I can do it. But I know I just can't. I'd rather deal with my kids, because my kids know not to disrespect me. And not only do they know not to disrespect me, a new child coming in is going to be told, that's not the one to mess with. So fall back. You see how the word gets around? So they act cool. But see, I interact with my children. When they happen, well, what's going on with you? Why are you acting like this? I act just like a mother. And kids respect that. She cares. I'm going through this. Like it was a kid the other day on my steps. Never seen a kid a day in my life. And I said, well, what you doing? First I said hello. And I asked him, well, what you doing? He said, I'm just trying to get a breather. I said, okay. So wherever you live at, you don't want to be bothered with them right now. You must be from the community, and you just chose to go to another building and just sit, because you don't want to be bothered right now. Okay, I get it. And I waited about an hour and went back out there to see if he was still out there, and he was gone. So he got him a breather and went on home. But as an adult, it was my job to check on him, to make sure that he was okay. Because I didn't see this, I didn't know this child. And you standing here, you sitting here, and, you know, what's going on? That's my job. Not because I have Private Friend Incorporated, because he's a child. And he lives in my community. Now, I don't know what went wrong. If his parent chastised him, or if he did something he wasn't supposed to. I don't know. That wasn't my concern. My concern was his safety for the moment. That was my concern. Now, if he's a child that's being abused, best to believe he'll come back if something happens. Because he knows that I'm an adult that cares. So that's how it works. They're going to go to the people that they think care. But he was just getting a breather. He never came back. It's been a month now. About a month. Haven't seen him back. So it's not abuse. He just needed a breather for that day. Kids be needing breathers too. They go in their room sometime and just want a breather. Sometimes they have little siblings and the parent is pushing the sibling off on them and they need a breather. So when a child says, I need a breather, give the child a breather. They're human beings too. But you don't want to get the child all stressed out to where they start acting out. And they feel like they have to be aggressive with adults because adults won't allow them to live or understand their feelings. So it works both ways. It's just not everything you do, you must listen to me. We got to hear them out too and see how they're feeling. You know, I remember there was a time where adults would tell kids, like, you'd be like, I'm tired. And how can you be tired? You're only 11. It could be 1,000,001 reasons why that child is tired. That child could have an illness going on. You may not be feeding them properly, so that they're weak. Maybe they didn't eat. Maybe they dehydrated. So we got to listen to them too. And that could be one of the reasons why some of these kids do be acting out. Because they're not being heard. So they feel like it's a war between adults and children. Because she's killing me. You know, that's their theory. She's killing me and I can't take it no more. So now I got to be aggressive and I got to protect myself. A child always want to feel like they don't have to worry. And a lot of these parents put their kids in worrying mode. It shouldn't be like that. What's next? You explain to your kids what's going on. So they have a little bit of understanding and not worry that you are the correct adult. Even though you gave birth to them, don't mean you're the correct adult to make sure that their life is safe. However, it's our job as adults and parents to tell them and show them that even though we're going through problems, whatever the case may be, I'm still the right adult here to protect you. So we have to also do our part too, to ensure these children. And I believe that's one of the reasons why these kids put this force field up and want to fight all the adults and the teachers, because they feel like they stupid. And it's a war. But then you have some children appreciate the love, that we can give them. But you don't know what's going on in their homes. You don't know what they were brought up in. Sure, my daughter, she used to act out at home, would never act out in school. Now I'm starting to get the school acting out. The rebellion. Oh, I'm not with it. I said, you better call your siblings so they can tell you what type of mother you have. Because I only been lenient because of what your father and his family told me that I needed to do to be a mother. But yet and still, my kids respect me. Every one of them. They love me. When I need, they help me. They may not live in the same states, but best believe they only a phone call away. But then I got my community kids here as well. And they do the same. They respect me. They love me. And we're here for each other. That's the way it works. I've been doing this a long time. Since I was young, in the communities, helping the kids, and when they couldn't deal with life, talk to them. Because I was a foster child. I don't know how many times I've told y'all this. I was a foster child, lived in kinship foster home, and I lived in other foster homes, and I lived in group homes. Not because I was bad, because I wasn't a bad kid. My circumstances with my little brother, for those that read the book and my story, put me in the hands of Child Protective Welfare, which led me from home to home to home until my people, my family said, enough. We're bringing her here. So I can live a regular life, which was in the Bronx. So being that I was in foster care and in group homes, I had to know how to fight. I had to know how to protect myself. But I still listened to the adults. I still followed the rules. And then when I got out of it, that person was crazy. And I evaluated the situation. That's why they say, don't overthink. What do you mean? You have to think. You have to think things through. What is the good consequences or what's the bad consequences? You have to think things through. It's another cycle we need to end. Oh, you're overthinking. What? I need to overthink it because bad consequences come out of this. Especially when you're dealing with another human being. When you're dealing with just yourself, if you don't want to overthink, only you're going to go through the process. But you're not to take other people through the process of whatever you thought about or not thought about with you. You don't do that. It's wrong. This is why you have to think the process out. Especially when you have children. What is the best way to deal with this situation? I saw a lady fighting, two white girls fighting. And the little boy was there. Why his mother was fighting another lady, but she was actually winning. And the mother was telling the baby to help her, to jump in. First and foremost, you shouldn't have been fighting with your son there. And the person that you were fighting was fighting you because you had a child with you. I mean, make it make sense, people. This is what you're teaching your children. Didn't y'all see in The Color Purple when what's her name? The one that played Oprah. They was arresting her. And what was she saying? Get my kids out of here. Get my kids out of here. Because she didn't want her kids to have to endure that pain. The same with me. When I got beat by 10 police officers in New York City. They got my daughter out of there. Hurry up, put her on the bus. She can't see this. Happened to her mother. And then when they returned her, they didn't even return her to the same bus station, just in case somebody's seen it. Do you see how they tried to, even though she did see it, and it did affect her, but do you see how they tried to protect the mental of the youth? Certain things we just don't do, people. You know, my mother, she was a addict, and I've never seen my mother get high. Never. I seen her take a drink. After she got off the drugs, she became an alcoholic. But I've never, ever seen my mother getting high. I've never seen my mother smoke a blunt or weed. I've never seen my mother sniff coke, smoke crack. Never. I was 36 years old, making $70,000 a year, living in my house. And I didn't even want to smoke a cigarette in front of my mother. Because that's not what she taught me. And she said, Jackie, calm down. This is your house. You're making good money. If you want to put out a cigarette and smoke, smoke it. And I still felt uncomfortable smoking a cigarette in front of my mother. So that's just to show you how I was brought up. My mother might have let drugs take her life and didn't make the correct decisions, but she still raised me. Not everything she said was correct, and I was able to find out other things elsewhere. However, she still raised me. Now, I used to know sometime when she was getting high because I would smell it. But I've never laid eyes on my mother getting high. Never. She would go in her room by herself or with her company, shut the door, and that's that. We have to lead by example. Now me, I don't get high or drink. Once in a blue, I'll take some wine or some dinner. I used to drink in front of my kids. I have a picture with me, my son, my grandson, and my father. 3-generation family with a bottle of Hennessy on the table. And when I look at that picture today, it disgusts me. I'm on my podcast. When I look at that picture today, it disgusts me. But I thank God that my kids learned from my mistakes and their grandfather mistakes instead of enduring those mistakes. In other words, taking on those mistakes as part of one of their problems. We got to let kids make their own decisions. Because the first thing they'll do is point the finger at you as an adult, saying, well, this is what you taught me. I wouldn't even know about this, okay, if you didn't show me this. Now, even though my mom never seen me, I never seen her get high, I did go to the streets. And I smoked weed and drink with my friends. I'll never forget when my mother came to me and she was like, you high, ain't you? You out there smoking that weed? And all I could do was put my head down. But I had to tell her the truth. And she told me, she said, Jackie, that's not something you want to be doing. You don't want to get caught up in that life. And I just said, okay. Eventually, I learned my lesson and I stopped smoking weed. And I had to think about it. Because she was smoking weed, smoking crack, sniffing coke. I ain't had no clothes. I didn't, half of the time I didn't have food. I had to think about that. I had to analyze the situation. I didn't have the stuff that the other kids had because she had to have her get high money. I mean, I had a roof over my head, but that's about it. I had to go and scram for the rest of it. Pack bags to eat. This is real life. That stuff that's in that book that I wrote, that story, it's real. Real life. I had to eat rice because that's all we had. Because, rice is cheap. And not only is rice cheap, the government used to give it to us for free. Rice, peanut butter. They would give it to us for free. So that's all my house had. I told you the story where my Jamaican friend, she came. It was my best friend, Charmaine. She came and she said, you could take the onions and make it, because we didn't have seasoning either. My mother wouldn't buy no seasoning because she had an addiction. I ain't had no seasoning to season the rice. I ain't had no butter. A little bit of butter in the corner of the thing, of the container. And my Jamaican friend came over. She said, listen, take the onions, cut it up, and boil it inside the rice to give it some flavor. And she did it with me. We did it together. And I was able to eat. I didn't turn out like my mother because I remember the pain that I had to go through, and I wouldn't want to put my children through that. People say, Jackie, why you don't get high? Why you don't smoke weed? If you went through what I went through, you wouldn't either. But of course you didn't. So you're putting this issue on you and your children, like my mother did. I refuse to do that. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to have the drunk, addictive, chaotic home for my children. I'm not going to do it because I lived in it. And it didn't change the love for my mother because I still loved her to the day that I buried her. I was crying more than everybody. And everybody saying, well, why are you crying so hard? The way she treated you, she's still my mother. She's still my mother. Because there was times she was a mother to me. She didn't lose total sight of being a mother. So you're damn right I was going to take care of her. I was going to give her my money for her rent. And pay her cable bill if that's what she wanted. Because she was still my mother. In the last 13 years of her life, she lived not totally clean. She turned into an alcoholic, but she was still my mother, and I used to talk to her every single day. She was more functional as an alcoholic than she was as a cocaine addict. But I would talk to my mother every single day, every day, and visit her on a regular basis. Up the road I go. 3-hour drive. Want to see my mother. I'll never forget it. It was a day where my mom was going through it with my daughter. Them two was going at it. They called me on the phone. It was a Sunday morning. I'll never forget it. And I'm on my way to work. Merchandise my stores. And here they call me. They going. They just going. They not fighting. You know, my daughter is going off. And I'm like, no, you know, we don't do that. We don't disrespect our elders. She was like, but mommy, I'm not disrespecting her. I'm just telling her. But no, I'm on my way. I touched down in New York in less than, I would say 2.5 hours because I was flying on a turnpike. You're not going to disrespect my mother. If y'all not getting along, then you need to leave. But you're not going to disrespect her. Everything she does is not right. And we know that. But I'm not going to tolerate you disrespecting her. I will pull up. And my daughter understood that. And I taught her the value of a mother by showing her that. Certain things you don't do to adults, elders. If they're not your cup of tea or whatever, you know, you don't have to deal with them. That's just the bottom line. You leave in peace. All right. Have a good one. And keep it moving. Oh, I don't like so-and-so. I ain't coming around here too much to this person's. It could be a family member, elder. It don't matter. You don't have to show up. You don't have to be there. That's the way it works. But you don't have to disrespect them. And that's just the way it is. Now, I hope everyone have a wonderful, beautiful Sunday. But we got to end this cycle. I love you all. This is Jacqueline Richardson, Miss J.D. Diamond, Jackie Deja, whatever y'all call me. I'll talk to y'all soon.